This is A View from the Bridge, official podcast of the Belfast Giants for kingdomofthegiants.com. Today is the 2nd of August, 2021. My name is Patrick Smith. We're back with another pre-season, I guess, podcast ahead of the 2021-2022 season. The last time we were able to bring you a number of brand new signings for the Belfast Giants. And guess what? Thanks to the Belfast Giants, we're able to do exactly the same in this show. But we've got a lot to talk about other than that, because there have been a lot of names added to Adam Keefe's roster in the meantime. But of course, I'll start with the most important names on the roster, and they're the three men that I can see in front of me on my screen right now. Mr. McGimsey, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Patrick.
Mr. Kitchen, you keeping well?
Yeah, I'm grand. Thanks. How are you?
Nobody ever asked me, but I'm feeling fine, thank you. And Mr. Joel Neal, how are you?
Hello, boys. Paddy, I just have to say thank you very much for the minute-by-minute updates of your weekend at Silverstone the other week. Really appreciate it.
What a trip, yeah.
Yeah, I was living that vicariously through you. Much appreciated. Thanks.
Seeing Max Verstappen hit the wall at 51 Gs right in front of my very eyes. What an experience.
It's a big day out.
A big day out, but it was a lot of fun. The sun shone on us, a lot of fun at Silverstone. But we're not here to talk about Formula One, as exciting as it's been in the last couple of weeks. We're here to talk about your Belfast Giants. Now, we're going to start with something we're going to breeze through, because we're going to cover it more in depth in the next podcast when we have this individual come and join us. But unfortunately, we've had the retirement of a man who in the last podcast, Mr. McGimsey referred to as the greatest man to put on a goalie shirt in the Belfast Giants. Stephen Murphy has decided to hang up the glove, the blocker, and the skates. Davy, any stats from Mr. Murphy?
No, I don't have any handy.
Good. Surely on the top of your head.
There's 400 odd games. We'll regurgitate all the stats that Simon went through in his little interview. Yes. When we get Murph on, but all the stats, he owns them all. For me, Stephen Murphy, when we did our starting six and when we'll colloquially call him the goalie, for me, there may have been more short-term talent, if and Tyler Beskorowany perhaps a better on any given night goaltender, but for longevity and the amount of years Stephen Murphy played for the club, his numbers stack up against any goalie that's been here for a short period of time for the show. For me, Stephen Murphy will go down in Giants folklore as one of the very best Giants, let alone one of the very best goaltenders to put on the jersey. It gets into another little, discussion about jersey retirements and all, and we could go on. Someday we will have a show about jersey retirements and the ones that shouldn't be there and the ones that should be there.
Good luck with that.
The ones that shouldn't be there, we all know, but yes, I understand.
Yeah, so you could make an argument almost for and against every jersey up there, and there's ones that should be up there that aren't, and ones that have been promised that still have to happen, and there's different things, but for me, Stephen Murphy, getting a wee bit carried away there, Stephen Murphy, can't wait to have him on the show, do a bit of a retrospective on his career, take him right back to when he was just a wee lad putting on the skates for the first time to finishing up with the Belfast Giants. We'll not talk about this Elite Series recreational tournament that he played in. He finished the Belfast Giant and he finished a winner.
Todd Kalman's number should be taken down, but that's beside anyway, Todd.
Friend of the show.
Jolie, what about Murph? Obviously, we'll go more into it next time.
Do you know what, Paddy? Whenever you're wrong as often as I am, you have to be content with holding your hands up and saying whenever you're wrong. And on the last show, I definitely was very quick to look at McGimsey's smile there. I was very quick to put the greatest of all time tag on Tyler Beskorowany, and I do concede that was maybe a bit of, obviously, excitement for fantastic signing announcements, a bit of recency bias because Besko had sort of done the business and had that phenomenal season until there are many metrics by which you could measure the greatest of all time, but if you're talking about cultural club impact and overall history, very, very fair point, and I concede to Davy McGimsey that there's probably no one, if you want to use the word greater, to ever stand between the pipes for the Belfast Giants. And that's not a new opinion that I've got. I've loved Murph since the day I walked into the arena. Absolutely sensational. Broke down barriers, won the goal as a British goaltender. Good evening, David Sims. And the man's legacy speaks for itself. So look, happy to hold my hands up and say that I was a little bit excited. Still think Tyler Beskorowany is, in terms of sheer talent, like a generational thing. I think he's phenomenal, but it's not a cut and dry black and white argument. So, Davy, I concede.
and says you had a chance to chat with him, obviously, that video that was done. And, the guy's record speaks for itself.
Of course it does. I mean, that conversation I had with him was supposed to be about 2 or 3 minutes. It lasted about 12. Davy's absolutely right. Murph's an absolute legend here now in Belfast. There's no doubt about that. I do have the stats because I'm a bit of a stat, fanatic. So I could go through them, but I'll leave it to David for his next. I know he's going to grab him and have a conversation with him at some point in the very near future. He hasn't hung the skates up to a certain extent because he's still doing hockey schools all over the place. He's in Glasgow again today, doing a hockey school over there. But Murph, he's been absolutely phenomenal for us. Look at right back to the 2009-10 season when the playoff final and that massive save against Max Breyer, and that's just one, for God's sake. I could run off a whole list of huge saves that he pulled off for us and huge moments that he's had in a Belfast Giants jersey. And I'm looking forward to whether we're all speaking to him or whether Davy's going to grab him. Whatever way it works out, I'm looking forward to getting them on.
Sorry, Paddy, just before you go there.
No.
We talk about that one big save against Max Breyer, but like that whole weekend, we had the day before in the semi-final, we had the shootout against, I think we went against the Panthers, perhaps.
Nottingham Panthers, it was, yeah.
Cory Nielsen Day, wasn't it?
It was Cory Nielsen Day, yes.
For those that weren't there, can't tell you what happened.
Great content.
Briefly, Cory Nielsen had a right grump at me, but never mind.
Yeah. Might have been the first year of the press passes, can't remember. He made all those saves in that penalty shootout, and then even the following day, the penalty shootout, he made more than saves against Mac Breyer. That was the pivotal one because it allowed us to go down the other end and score. But we had many. Simon asked him, can you pick a standout moment? And he had so many. And what I found really lovely about Murph saying that being at the back end, maybe making it just a regulation save and then going up the ice and scoring just makes the save so much bigger. And to see his cousin, family and Shed scoring, or Gary scoring, or Scott scoring, or these guys, especially the British guys, he seemed to have a particular fondness for, probably because they probably bond a wee bit more with knowing each other through the GB setup and what over the years. But really looking forward to getting that sort of more in-depth chat with Murph, because he deserves that. He deserves a bit of a send-off for what he's done for the club.
Here. We'll have that in the next edition of A View from the Bridge. We'll move on and talk about some of the signings. And we're better to go now than having seen the retirement of Stephen Murphy. The Belfast Giants then proceeded to announce the return of 2 goalkeepers. And we'll start with one of Murph's best mates, and that's Andrew Dixon, coming back it was billed to be his 10th time with the Giants. I counted as 11th because he played one game when he played with the Steelers and then had one game with us, and then this would be the 11th consecutive year of him being with the Belfast Giants. I could be wrong on that, but says a great servant to the club no matter how many years.
Absolutely. Deco is he's just a class act. I don't think some people realize how funny he is. In the locker room itself, one of the funny parts is he's never on time. He's one of the last guys in the locker room, but he's usually one of the first guys on the ice. And then he's the last guy off the ice and the first guy out because he's got to go and maybe do a bit of work for somebody else to get his day in. But Deco has just been brilliant. And one of the things that Steve Murphy touched on when I was talking to him is about how good Deco actually has got. He didn't. My understanding is he didn't get on the ice until he was in his mid-teens, and to get from there to playing at a professional level. Now, he hasn't played a hell of a lot of games. I think it's about 50 or 45, 50 games that he's played in total over the 10 years. But to play at that level and practice at that level and to see him improve week on week, year on year, he's done absolutely phenomenal. And, as I say, to come into the sport really, really late and to pick it up and it's, again, the goaltender is one of the hardest positions because mentally it's you might not, especially playing with the Giants, you might not see a shot on goal for 2, 3, 4 minutes. And that's when you've got to stay in the game and stay focused. And being from Ballymena, it's a bit, or Ballymoney, sorry, it's a bit hard to stay focused sometimes. But he's Deco. I'm really, really glad to be back. To be honest, I thought he would have hung the boots up along with Murph because the two of them come together. But I'm really, really glad to see him back. Really, really top lad.
What I'll do is I'll just mix this in as well, because obviously, as well as Dicko being announced at the same time, we heard the announcement that the Kelowna Rocket himself, Jackson Whistle, will be returning to Teal after a brief stint with the Sheffield Steelers and the Nottingham Panthers. Davy, that rounds out the three as Beskorowany, Whistle, and Dicko. So your thoughts on Whistle and Dicko?
I'm delighted to see Dicko back. He's always somebody that's a lot of fun to have around the club, full stop. Whether he's playing on a game night. If he's not playing on a game night, he's always, knocking about, having a bit of banter and stuff and keeping things loose for the boys and up where Sis is, up the box as well. So, those kind of things are really important. Really important to have a goaltender that can take weight off Besko, off Wiss at practice to allow the guys to stay on the ice for that extra 10, 15 minutes and just take slap shots at his head, says he's always late. He's always late for those slap shots. Most of them get him bang on the knobber. I've seen a few temper tantrums there. I've never seen
a goalie break as many sticks in my life.
I've seen a few sticks in that bin just as you go off the ice, the ice bowl there. But he's a top quality fella, and to have someone like that in the organization that allows that extra bit of practice, because the best will in the world, the best goes in their whistles. They want to get off the ice. They want to do their stretch, and Jackson wants to get those hips and all stretched out. Good to have him back at the club. We had the conversation with Kevin Rain when he rejoined. We will have that conversation, or maybe we'll send Joel on that one to have that conversation. It was Kevin Rain that said it rather than Jackson Whistle. And look, if he represents Belfast, he represents us, and we support him 100%. But we will be having that conversation. It's coming to a screen near you soon. Good to see him back. I think that he went to climb that ladder, and he's done quite well since he's been away. His numbers have been quite good, quite solid. That Elite Series, certainly, though I didn't see any footage because I really no interest in it, the number side of things looked to stack up well for him. So, statistically, he's been pretty handy since he went away. Good to have him back in tail again. Look forward to seeing what he can bring in relief of Tyler Beskorowany when Besko can't go.
One shutout and a 92% save average in that Elite Series. Joel, your thoughts on that, on the goalie? Well, the two goalies have been added to Tyler Beskorowany already on the side.
I think the boys have already alluded to my main thought on Dicko, especially. I think Dicko, you can't just measure his contribution and his value to the club purely with his on ice performances. He as the boys said, a loyal servant to the club, someone who means a lot to the fan base as well. As our league continues to evolve and change, and the makeup of the kind of rosters and the types of players that are in our league, as it gets, I think anyway, up until the pandemic, better and better year on year. We obviously are stuck for ice facilities on the island of Ireland, and having a local guy on the team is massively important. Plenty of us were around to see Graham Walton, the Mo Train, Gareth Roberts, guys like that icing for the Giants, and just to have that local connection when Dicko is put in, be it a cup game, be it a big lead or a third period, whatever, the roar that goes up, it's not like a running joke or anything. People are genuinely thrilled to see Andrew Dixon skating onto the ice in that jersey and representing the club for them, because he's a local lad, and it makes it possible to a million kids who are doing the same thing, trying to do the business. So yeah, and culturally as well, as Sis said, he's the a big part of the glue that keeps the show on the road, and a heck of a commentator as well. Says as a co-com, be good to see him back in the booth this season. Really entertaining and misunderstood, as you say, in terms of just how witty and how sharp that he is. In terms of Wiss, my former next door neighbour, glad to see Jackson back. Very solid option between the pipes, and him and Besko together. That's great depth, and then when you add Dicko as well, it's an area that we have very well covered right now. Happy to see him back, and hope that he gets back and sees ice time and shares the load and does well.
And at this point, we've got a lot of other signings to cover, but at this point, we're going to announce one of the new names on Adam Keefe's roster. I say a new name, it's a returning name, and that is the 29-year-old centre from St. Louis, David Goodwin, who spent a bit of time in Krakow last season, trying to get some ice time, but is returning to the Belfast Giants, and he chatted with Joel earlier today.
It gives me great pleasure to welcome back a familiar face to Giants fans, making his return to Belfast. after the season was curtailed early due to the pandemic. Long overdue. Welcome back to Belfast, David Goodwin. It's good to see you, my man. How are you?
I'm doing great, Joel. Really, really great to be back. Pumped for the season.
Let's start off, I guess. We haven't seen you, heard from you in a little while. Everybody kind of went their own way over the past year and a half. Where in the world do we find you at the minute, and how are you doing?
Yeah, those, obviously right when the season ended in 2020, I came back to the U.S. for about 6 months. Obviously kind of like everyone, didn't really know what was going to go on. Was there until Christmas, and then I was able to finish last hockey season playing in Krakow, Poland. Awesome experience. I was there for about 4 months. Loved the country, loved the city. The hockey was good. I had the opportunity of playing with Darcy Murphy. I met him for the first time, obviously, a very well-known Belfast Giant. So we had a lot in common there. And then since then, been living in Nashville, Tennessee for the last 4 months, kind of preparing to head back to Belfast.
And you have to tell me how you find in Nashville. You're a St. Louis guy. Is it much of a change?
It is absolutely a change of pace from St. Louis. Just tons going on. A few temptations here or there, but I've been committed to my workout regimen and, trying to keep my body in the best shape possible. But it's a fun city for sure.
That time in Poland, playing out in Krakow, am I right in saying you finished that season with silver? They call it the silver medal, like league runner-up?
Yep, silver medal. We finished second in the league. Had a pretty grueling playoff run. That ended, unfortunately with silver. But the most important thing, I was able to play some good hockey in a good country and kind of stay fresh and stuff. So it certainly filled that void for me.
You obviously have experience of that European hockey style, as in you were in Finland before you came to Belfast, straight out of college. So what was it like making the transition back from a very North American style in the EIHL, going back into that very quick, fast-paced, hands and feet European style? I guess it kind of suited you as a player.
Yeah, I think it was fine. Certainly a different style, a lot more controlled chaos, a lot more running around. But obviously, like if you're a North American player that wants to kind of bounce around in Europe, you have to be able to adapt. And thankfully, I feel like I've been able to do that pretty well. So it was fun for what it was. Grateful for the time there. So yeah, all things considered, it was a good fit.
Now, before we get to the obvious questions around, obviously, last season and your return to Belfast, there's been a bit of a running theme, or at least something that I've noticed recently anyway, and I'd love to get your thoughts on it. You were obviously an NCAA Big Ten champion with Penn State. You captained the side in your final year. You're 12th on the all-time scoring chart. First of all, how do you look back on all of those years at college in terms of making you the pro that you are today? And then what are your thoughts on the EIHL and the Belfast Giants beginning to pick up more and more young guys fresh out of collegiate hockey? Do you think it's good for the league?
Yeah, first, obviously I loved my 4 years at Penn State. Great university, great hockey program. As you said, we won the Big Ten championship with the likes of Michigan, Minnesota, Notre Dame my senior year. So we were playing with all the big dogs. Certainly, I feel like it prepared me as a player and a person to make this leap to professional hockey. Especially at the time, I went a very unconventional route. I was one of the first people that went right from NCAA to Europe, to pro in Europe. Now, as you mentioned, Joel, it seems like that's kind of starting to become more and more common. And so, yeah, at the time it was certainly unconventional, but I thought Penn State did a great job preparing me. So, very grateful for that. In regards to Belfast, and more broadly, the EIHL, I think it's great. I think the NCAA for a lot of European leagues is a very unknown situation. You never know what you're going to get. I think it's probably better hockey than many of the pro leagues in Europe give it credit for. I always tell guys that are thinking about going over to Europe, the hardest year is your first year because a lot of teams don't necessarily want to take that risk because they don't know. But if you've played a year in Finland, played a year in Germany, then, for example, the EIHL knows exactly what they're going to get. I think the fans will be pleasantly surprised with the younger guys coming right from NCAA. To a previous point you made, I think it will make the league a lot faster. than it's been in the past. Obviously, like having guys maybe after they've played a longer North American career come to the EIHL, maybe they've slowed down a little bit. Now we're going to be getting guys that are 23, 24, prime shape. They're going to be looking to run around, with their head cut off, hitting anything in sight.
I think Giants fans got a taste of that whenever the Friendship Four started here, and it's just for me personally, it's my favorite type of player, and it's really exciting to see that now begin to permeate and begin to pay off in the actual roster. And I guess you're going to have a couple of teammates like that, and you yourself are not long out of college hockey. So I guess we can look forward to some really high octane, energetic hockey from the Giants this season.
Absolutely, it seems like from the makeup of the roster that I've seen so far. Certainly going to be, a faster team. As I mentioned, I think the league is probably going in that direction. So I think it's going to be one of those things that you're going to need to be able to skate really well to keep up.
Let's turn to Belfast then, the obvious subject. Obviously, your arrival in Belfast was a little out of the ordinary too. You were brought in to sort of bolster the offense that was faltering a little bit at the time. And then obviously, as we all know, the season was curtailed early. So making a return despite all of that disruption and despite probably quite a turbulent season, that would indicate to me that you probably enjoyed your time here.
I did, absolutely. I think Belfast is a very special place. The fans are phenomenal. The way the Giants run their organization is phenomenal. So, when I kind of had that opportunity to head back, when I started talking to Kiefer and Steve, it was exactly where I wanted to be. So.
How did that return come about? Were you always on Adam Keefe's radar? Did you keep in touch? Or did you consider any other options? There's a lot of guys, unfortunately, that otherwise probably would be gearing up for a season that have now decided to, hang the skates up, go into the business world. Was it always a return to hockey, and was Belfast top of that list?
Yeah, I mean, Kiefer and I, we kept in touch when I was in Poland. Kiefer made it a point, like, hey, if you do at one point want to get back to the Giants, it's important that you play some hockey in this, this weird year, this past season.
Yeah.
Which I did. As I mentioned, I was in Poland. I think the fact that I was playing with Darcy Murphy probably, put Kiefer's antennas up in his head a little bit more and incentivized him to maybe watch some of our games online a little more, because he knew myself and Murph were playing together on the same line. But yeah, we kept in touch. I always wanted to keep the Belfast door open. As I mentioned, I think it's such a special place. And it just kind of fell into place perfectly.
The thought of you and Darcy Murphy on a line will strike fear into the opposition and hopefully sell a few more season tickets. Your strengths to me while you were here, I would consider you a fast skater. You've got fast ways. You're a playmaker, but I think the reason, not to put words in the coach's mouth, but the reason I think you were brought into Belfast was that ability to get a greasy goal, to fight in the dirty areas, and that at the time was something that the Giants were lacking. Is that what Giants fans can expect on your return? Has your game changed much since the last time?
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Joel. If you were to make a montage video of all my goals in the last 5 years, none of them would be the same. You watch Ovechkin, you could put a dummy in Ovechkin's spot and just one-timer. Like for me, I'm just, I like to score in any way I can, shooting around the net, deke, whatever. And that's always kind of been my MO. So I certainly plan on bringing that back to the Giants this season.
And this is something we're asking everyone, because I think it's something that we've all spent a lot of time thinking about. But on the return to the arena that first night with fans back in the building after everything that we've all been through, from your perspective, skating out onto the ice, how do you think that's going to feel?
Yeah, it's going to be electric. That, to be honest, that was a big incentive for me to get back to the Giants. Just thinking about that opening night, what it's going to mean to the fans, to the city, to the country. It's going to be electric. When it sounded like I was going to go back to Belfast, I'd been keeping in touch with Kevin Rain, and we'd have these phone calls, and we were just like, man, that first night is going to be amazing. So pumped, can't wait. So I'm certainly looking forward to that very much so.
Good to hear from David Goodwin, and welcome back to him to the Belfast Giants. I'll go straight to you then. The guy obviously has the energy. He's looking forward to getting back in.
Yeah, I kind of brought it up there, but my favorite part about David Goodwin is that he's a goal scorer and he's a playmaker. But as I said, he was brought in to go after those dirty goals that the Giants were lacking at the time. He obviously was a replacement for Jean Dupuis, who things obviously didn't really work out for in Belfast. And he, for me anyway, he lit it up. Very consistent, lots of energy on the ice, and the prospect of him and Darcy Murphy playing on the same lineup or possibly the same line, sign me up. I'll watch that any day of the week.
Says good numbers as a centreman when he was here.
Yeah, I disagree. I don't think he was brought in to score goals. I thought he was brought in to basically get, have a couple of good wingers and get them scoring. If he's looking for a good winger, he'll line Darcy up all day long. So, he's a really good player. Joel touched on a good skater, and he's solid, does both ends of the ice. He sort of ticks every box that you want to at this level, because this year's probably going to be maybe three lines and an extra player, because of the way it's all panning out. And when you're in that position, your first line, your second line need to play on a lot of minutes, especially if you're shorthanded, and it really does tire you out. And he was playing both penalty kill and power play for the Giants in the last season. So really good signing. Glad to see him back. He's a solid player. And hopefully he does strike up that relationship with Darcy again and gets a wee man firing.
With Darcy, Davy had to go to 30 games in Poland, so it's good that he was able to get that ice time. And obviously, with hopefully, as we say, if he does strike up that partnership with Darcy Murphy, it will be good for the Giants.
Yeah, it was a strange old time, I guess, for everybody having to go away and try and find just somewhere to play some hockey over the last sort of 18 months, whenever this what do we call the strange days that we lived through. I'm glad to see that seem to be a bit more light at the end of the tunnel, and we're coming out of it. And I says I'm not absolutely convinced he was brought in to score goals. We brought Elgin Pearce in as well, and it's just as it happened, Goody, 15, 16 games less, and was only one goal short of actually top scoring on the team that season. So, he did come in, he did reignite offense. He was pretty good in the circle when he had to go in there as well. We tried a lot of combinations in there, because the more you have the puck, the more goals you score. And, he at times come up with a couple of real crucial face-off wins. I remember away in Cardiff. Although it didn't pan out for us absolutely brilliantly over the season, we still retained our championship. So, at the end of the day, he came in, he did what he had to do. And I'm glad to see him back. I think Goody has, and as he's alluded to there, he's been away playing with Murph. So, that's maybe a little bit of ready-made chemistry that Kiefer might look to put together right from the get-go. But, to come in and to get your wingers firing again, we lost Jean Dupuis, we lost Jesse Forsberg. I don't think Forsberg, without segueing too much, Forsberg, if I'm right, says took a bad hit, maybe one of the CHL games, took an injury, never got going, never really got going again. I would have liked to have seen a bit more of Jesse Forsberg, to be quite honest with you, having came through that production line that Kendall McFall and that came through. So, but sorry for him, didn't work out. Sean Dupuis just didn't work out. 14 games. I think Joel had as many points as him, so it was unfortunate he had to go, but he went. Goody came in, the rest history. Things might not have worked out at the end of that season, but we still were building towards a good playoff run. We had players getting into form, so we'll never know is the answer, but maybe next season Goody will get to write a new chapter.
Yes, and a big welcome back to David Goodwin. There's an aspect of that interview I'm going to bring up later in the show as well, regards to enthusiasm of players coming back into the Belfast Giants. But on that, actually, it brings us into some of the new signings that were announced in the meantime. And we will have another signing for the Giants coming later in the show, so stick around for that. But in the meantime, they were announced. Let's take a batch of three: Ben Lake, Mark Garside, and brand new signing in Jeff Baum, a 25-year-old utility, more defensive player from Texas. He's coming in from the NCAA at the American International College. But those three were announced as in one tranche. Davy, Laker coming back, Garside coming in from the Nottingham Panthers, and Baum. Your thoughts?
Laker's bit crucial. For me, he was really, really good when he was here, and I'm glad to see him back. A lot of speed, good hands. I think, you could go on and write a lot of superlatives about Ben Lake. Whenever he signed to us from the Coventry Blaze, it was a massive coup. in terms of coming to Belfast from a team that he had done really, really well in. He had a pretty decent season with us. Again, we don't know how that season was going to finish, so I'm looking forward to seeing him through a complete phase with us. Gary, I'm probably going to forgive him. I don't know. I'm not sure yet.
That's progress. That's progress.
Gary has that ability. He's gone back on D. Will he be on D completely? I'm not sure. Says maybe know a wee bit more about that. He's probably put himself into that position now. Was it Walter? Wasn't it Walter put him back on D?
It was Walter put him on D.
It turned out to be an absolute brilliant decision, because Gary would probably be scratching around for third line, maybe fourth line time. So he's making a big contribution on the blue line for us there. He plays the puck simple. Gary gets the puck, passes the puck, chips it out when he has to. Really, really nice, solid player. GB International. He's coming up, and the amount of games this guy's played for the club is phenomenal as well. I don't have the stats in front of me. Gary's I'm sure he's in his 400s. Have you got my stats in front of you, sis?
Keep talking, I'll bring him up.
But Gary has been at the club an awful long time now. He's had his testimonial. I think maybe a few people thought maybe Gary would call it a day, probably maybe prior to even last season, but absolutely thrilled that he's still patrolling the blue line there for us. And Jeff Baum, a player there that can probably go both ways. He could probably play a bit of D, could play forward if he was needed. Fresh from the NCAA, another one of these guys that I think Joel referenced in his interview with Goody there, that there's more and more players coming direct from the NCAA. How much of that is down to the Friendship Four and the word getting round that this is a really good place to play hockey, the elite league, but in general, the Belfast Giants, because we definitely seem to have more of a share of the NCAA cake there, so Baum is a guy I want to see going. Decent enough numbers, really clever guy through his studies, and someone that's going to come here and maybe be a bit of a brain on the ice as well.
I like the way this says that Davy said, have you got my stats there? But says one of the things about this as well, and it's the point that maybe I'll make in regards to that we're talking about David Goodwin, is the likes of seeing the likes of Ben Lake coming back. Mark, gosh, okay, Gary lives in Northern Ireland, that's fine, but likes of Ben Lake coming back, and we see that as well. Jackson Whistle coming back, we see Tyler Beskorowany back, we see Darcy Murphy back. Seeing guys like this with the enthusiasm to come back and rejoin or re-sign for the Belfast Giants is a real positive and a real feather in the cap to the organisation.
It makes things a lot easier because they're obviously comfortable in the area. They know the rink. They know their way about. The hockey players, there's an awful lot of them travel an awful lot. They see a new city every year. There's a lot of guys do that, but having them back, with them feeling comfortable in Belfast itself, I think it makes it a lot easier for other guys to settle in because they know, they'll probably be sharing with somebody who's been here before. And they, when you've got a new guy coming in or two new guys coming in, sharing together, it's easy enough to get lost between the SSE arena and where the guys live and the Dundonald Ice Bowl, where they train. So having that familiarity makes it a lot easier for them. Laker, Davy just touched on it there. I think he's absolutely crucial to bring that type of guy in because, again, he plays in all eventualities. I think he's very, very underrated. I don't think a lot of fans give him the credit that he's due. Ben Lake is top quality. He plays at all eventualities, as I say. He can play power play, plays shorthanded. He's a really, really strong skater up and down the ice. He scored the winning goal and the title for us, and we weren't even on the ice. So he'll always go down as a legend in Belfast Giants history as well. So, but Ben Lake for me is a brilliant signing. Bringing Gary back, it's a no-brainer. Again, he lives here. He's got family here. 2 kids and enjoying himself. So, why wouldn't you bring him back? Davy will give him a hug when he's socially distanced allowed at some point. So I don't see that being an issue. But Davy just touched on his stats there. Gary's 546 games. He's 9th overall in points for the Belfast Giants, 205 points in 546 games, and a lot of them now probably 4 seasons on that, maybe 5 seasons on that have been played on the back end. So Mark Garside is definitely going to go down as another legend in Belfast Giants history. There's no doubt about that. And then again, Jeff Baum, the Friendship Four, playing its part again, and that's not the end of it. There is going to be more. The positivity that's being spread across North America because of the Friendship Four and the organization, the Odyssey Trust, and everybody, the building relationships that they have done over this last 6-7 years is definitely showing fruit. And I think it's absolutely brilliant that we're able to bring guys of that caliber, that age, and giving them the opportunity to play 1 year here. If they like it, brilliant, and they're competitive and they're successful, then stay. But they've got the opportunity to go further afield, and then you never know. Just like we, Darcy, just like David Goodwin, they've got a chance to come back. Jackson Whistle as well. So yeah, I think Steve and Adam have done a really good job so far in putting this roster together. And as I say, we're not finished yet.
Davy, you want to back in there?
Says many games did Sheds finish with?
627. Oh, so technically, if he plays every game this season, they get overtaken.
That would be a lot of games.
Well, it's 50. Let's see, 54.
80 games says that'll not happen. 540.
How many games they played the year before? 50.
Not going to have 80 games. Not going to
on,
happen.
Joe, go on.
No, say carry on. I'm trying to work it out in my head.
Well, carry on.
We will not play 80 games. We've never played 80 games.
Well, says there's a calculator out. Joel, these three signings we've talked about. Mark Garside are interesting that having been brought back into got him back into the GB setup, and he was there just this past championships competing for Team GB at the top table. And then Baum coming in with his role, he's a bit of a utility player. He can play forward, he can play D, and then Laker, well, as a Team GB player, Team GB comrade of likes of Garsh, he brings his own skills to the table.
Yeah, I feel like a bit of a stuck record in how much I'm talking about just my favorite type of player being those young guys who come in with so much energy and so much willingness to want to win championships. Those college guys, but they're not. That sort of recruitment method doesn't work unless you have the experience and the steady hand of guys like Mark Garside, who have been around here for a long time now. And as the league continues to morph and change, those long tenured players that we seem to used to have always had a few of, they're getting fewer and fewer. There goes Stephen Murphy, and obviously Colin Shields, greatest of all time, has hung them up a few years now. So players like Mark Garside, you don't go to market to find those types of guys. That's the guy who lives and breathes the organization. And those young, energetic players coming in, having someone like that to mentor them, to learn from, just someone who has the experience and the sheer number of games played in this league, that's what makes that recruitment method work. In terms of Jeff Baum, you've got an amazing sort of duality here in that he is coming straight out of college and has that energy and the youth, but he's also got experience of winning championships. Like he switched from Providence, I think, to his college that I can't remember the name of, American International College. Thank you. In the Atlantic Division, he was a regular season champion in all 3 years with that college, and I think they won the playoffs or the overall championship in 2 out of 3 of those years. So to come in with sort of the experience as well as the youthful energy and whatever else, that to me is the kind of player I want to pay my money and watch. Like that's just awesome. It said it better than I could regarding Ben Lake. That's a player that you want on your roster in this league, and I'm very glad to see him back.
Simon, you had your hand up there. Come on, you coming back to the numbers?
Here we go.
Davey, I know you're having a busy week, mate, so I'm not going to have a go at you here. But we did play 80 games one season.
But the year that
Josh Roach. What?
But it won't be next season.
No, I know that, but okay, I was wrong there. But I'm just pointing out where you were wrong first because you're the stat man. But the Kendall McFall, Josh Roach here, there was 80 games. Yeah, I think you're right. They'll not be playing 80 games this year, but he's not far off it, and he'll be playing another year after this. So hopefully his shoulders stay in place. His glass shoulders have now sort of become plexiglass shoulders, and he's all right. But Mark Garside, final word on Gary. I'm so glad to have him back.
Yeah.
Neil Whitehead has another excuse to bring out that David Ling, throw the gloves down.
All time.
I do like this. Basically, it's the gloves are thrown down. Cut the video there.
Yeah, thank God he didn't add the fight. Yeah, it's unreal.
Cut the video.
I'm still not convinced that's not a comfortable win. Gary, David Ling doesn't lay a mitt on him. I think
I like your loyalty to Gary there, Davy.
Really, he loves him. Really.
So they were three names that came forward, and there were three other brand new names that came onto the Belfast Giants roster since we last spoke. They were Sam Roop, who is a 25-year-old D-man from Regina, Saskatchewan. Cam Knight, he's a young American from Reading, Massachusetts. And Scott Conway, who has already played on the ice in Belfast with Providence as part of the Friendship Four. And of course, is the son of Kevin Conway, a GB international who played for more or less every single team in the country. And I think played against Mr. Simon Kitchen.
Yeah.
Kevin Conway played against you?
I think he's probably got 3 or 4 my truck stops. We've
hit this point now, says.
What?
We've hit this point now where the kids are coming through.
Yeah. I know. No, I'm not getting on that. I mean, I'm touching 50 next year, boys. So don't panic. I'm all right. I'm still on the ice. I'm happy enough. But Kevin Conway, his dad, was just unbelievable player. I mean, I think he had. I mean, again, okay, you're back to the late 80s at that point. Era Bruins. I'm pretty sure he had 200 points. At the Era Bruins, the year I played against him was Telford Tigers. And he
252 points in one season with the Telford Tigers.
And he hammered me that night, mate. I mean, I honestly didn't know my arse from my elbow. He really turned me inside out. I was only a kid. I was only 16 at the time. And then I played a friendly, I think it might have been the year after that against Billingham when he was in Billingham. And again, he scored a bucket load of points up there. If Scott is anywhere near as potent as his dad was on the ice, then he will be a huge signing for the Belfast Giants. I was talking when we got this over the line, I was talking to Taff about him. Taff's obviously he'd been with him over at GB for the Olympic qualifiers last year. Mm-hmm. Taff said he's quality all over. Adam, he really caught Adam's attention when he was here for that. He's going to be a big player. GB International, as I say, played in the Friendship Four again. You've got these kids that are just keep on coming up and up. And then you mentioned Cam Knight and Sam Root, 2 big defensemen. Davy had just said there when we were chatting before the show about the size of the defense this year. My understanding is they can all move. So, it's a big plus. Honestly, the lineup we're putting together here seems to be seems to be. You can't cut that bit out, can you?
I'm definitely not cutting that bit out. Go for it.
This is
really well
put together.
This is back to the recruitment means, yeah.
That's going deep in your recruitment. Let's just
back to the last show.
That's exactly what it is. But I've lost my trail of thought now. Brilliant, happy days. Keep her going.
I'll jump in on them. What Sis was saying about you're talking just across those 3 players like 6 foot, 6'1", 6'4", and we've got like 195, 200, 210 pounds. We're recruiting giants, and I think I was just saying a wee stupid throwaway stat. The team recruited so far is averaging over 6 foot, is averaging about 190, 200 pounds. We're recruiting big men, and we already know. You do your little bits of research here and there. You talk to the coach, talk to Sis, who's talking to them on a daily basis. These guys can move. One of the things that Steve Thornton, whenever he first came to Belfast, not when he was a player, as a coach and back in this head of hockey operations, you remember he came up with the caption "Speed Kills." Yeah. Steve Thornton is a phenomenal recruiter. We know that over the years. One of the things he's really focusing on over the last number of years is the mobility, the ability to go up and back down the ice. And these guys that are coming in, they're not just here to be, cones in their D zone. They have to be able to move. They have to be able to supplement offense. So important to get points from the blue line. And we have had over the last number of years, the Jim Vandermeers, the Spiros, the guys that can come in. Whenever Doug Christensen was here, we sort of digress a wee bit. He just and Walser wasn't quite as bad. They didn't like the D-man being first man in, and then you're worrying about the third man being high and all. These guys have to be able to transition the puck. That's where the game's going. The puck has to be able to go that 200 feet quick. And a bit like Goody, these guys coming in, Goody now having the 200-foot ice experience because he went from the NCAA. There's just that little bit of transition that those guys have to go through from going from the small ice pad into the big ice pad. So that's something for them to transition. But I'm sure that's well covered. But I'm really liking the size we're building.
Joe?
Yeah, I think just a note to add on to what the boys have eloquently said. Something that strikes me, it's really cool that Cam Knight and Scott Conway are both coming in from sort of separate paths so far in hockey. Both sort of that young kind of collegiate guy that I'm talking about. Both of them have separately already played with Jeff Baum. Conway played for Providence in Baum's 1 year there before he departed at the Friendship Four. And then Knight played alongside Baum with the Wichita Wildcats of the NHL. It's great to have a team coming in where that sort of patchwork has already begun, even right down to David Goodwin having experience of playing alongside a former Giant and Darcy Murphy, now going to be a teammate. It's fantastic that we're getting the jump on that kind of thing, something that is probably you wish you could change it about our league, and it's just a necessity. Guys come in and they hit the ground running. They've got a couple of weeks to get up to speed, learn systems, get to know each other and how each other plays. To have that sort of prior experience of each other coming in, I think will stand us in really good stead in the early season, which will be extra important this year because of the time that's been missed.
You have some really, really good signings there, and we're going to come to another brand new one for the Belfast Giants. The Giants have allowed us to have a new name and be able to bring to you a new name on the roster, a new name to the Elite League. That name is Tyler Soy. He is a 24-year-old centre from Coverdale in British Columbia, and I had a chance to chat with him earlier today. First of all, Tyler, welcome to the Belfast Giants. I guess the first question is, where are you? What does life have you doing now? How's your summer?
Right now, I'm currently in Victoria, British Columbia, here in Canada. I live in an apartment with my girlfriend and our dog, and I'm currently just training and working out. Not really working or anything right now. Popping back and forth between here and Vancouver, which is where my family's from, to get out on the ice, and been pretty basic summer so far.
So how does the opportunity come that you join us here at the Belfast Giants?
Well, I was originally with the University of Alberta, that's in Edmonton, and just after this last year, we weren't able to play any games. We barely were able to practice. With the whole COVID situation, there was lots of stuff locked down, lots of stuff completely just shut down. So, this year I really wanted to get back to just being able to play, just focus on hockey, not really have to worry about school or these other different things. And so I talked to my agents, and they reached out and got in contact with a few different places. And then, I got in contact with Kiefer and had a couple of really good conversations with him and with Steve, and just got a really good feeling for Belfast, and, it made me really excited and really want to play here.
So, like you said, it's been a difficult last year. You had 2 years initially with a year and a bit with the University of Alberta, and then this year absolutely nothing. So that affected your hockey. What about the schooling? Was that still able to continue?
It was. Everything was online, which is great. A lot of the professors, they were able to condense everything, put it into video lectures or live ones for depending on which class. And, it takes away a little bit from actually being in a classroom and whatnot. But on the other hand, it also, it made everything a lot more accessible, a lot easier to still be able to get stuff done and get all the information you need.
Prior to your time with the University of Alberta, you had quite a bit of time with the Victoria Royals in the WHL, and you dipped your toe as well in the AHL with San Diego, and with Tulsa in the ECHL. Why make the decision now to make the jump to Europe?
It's a good question. I think I've always been really interested in the hockey over in Europe. The fact that there's so many different leagues. Some leagues, have a different style completely to what I'm used to in North America. Maybe the schedule is set up differently, and it's always been really fascinating to me and really interesting. And just getting the opportunity to go play in Europe was a big deal, and knowing that there might be opportunities moving on to different teams, or if things go well, being able to stay and maybe set up a good spot in Belfast, for example. And I've always wanted to play pro hockey. That's always been the goal. Like you said, I've had a little bit of experience here in North America, and after going to school, it just really seemed like going over to Europe was the right move.
I don't think the Giants have made any sort of secret of the fact that a move to the Elite League can be that stepping stone into the bigger European leagues, and I guess that's maybe that sort of stepping stone that you want to take.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely one of the things that it's been talked about before I decided to come to Belfast, but even just getting a chance to play in Belfast and in this league is really exciting for me. I think it's a great opportunity, especially like we talked about, like with the year that I just had. Yeah. I'm so excited to be able to play in such a good spot that seems to have, great coaching, great management. It seems to always be a good team. The fans seem awesome. The support they give seems great. So I'm really looking forward to just getting back to being able to play and have a good year, and then everything after that can settle itself out.
Obviously when it comes to picking up guys like yourself, you expect the coaching team to do their due diligence and to understand the player they're bringing in. What about on your side? Do you do your due diligence about the Belfast Giants or about the Elite League? Do you go out and speak to guys that who have played over here before?
Yeah, for sure. I know a couple guys that I played with at the University of Alberta. They're playing in Cardiff this year, so I'll get to see them quite a few times.
Who are they?
So that's Trevor Cox and Cole Sanford. But yeah, talking with guys like that, kind of just, talk with my agents or doing my own little research online about, the coach or the city or, how the team has been playing and everything. So, everything's come back pretty positive, and I'm very excited.
So let's talk about you and your game. What sort of player do you think the Belfast Giants are getting in Tyler Soy?
I think I'm a pretty skilled, versatile forward. Normally I've been playing center for many years, but I've also played a lot of wing, so I feel like I can, mix into different spots. Generally, I'd say I'm more of a pass first kind of guy, but I also do like putting the puck in the back of the net. So, I think I do well offensively, and I think I can handle my own defensively as well. So I think just pretty all around two-way forward.
You're 24, so it's quite a short career so far. What's been the highlight?
Oh, that's a tough one. I think being drafted by Anaheim was a pretty cool opportunity and experience. Getting to play a couple of games with San Diego. I know that I had some injuries and things didn't work out great, so I ended up playing in Tulsa, which was a cool experience. Being able to play for the U18s for Team Canada has been, a pretty cool opportunity that I was able to have. And honestly, I think this is up there on the list. Being able to come over to Europe and play pro hockey is, I think, just the next thing to put on that list.
Fabulous. It's only I say it's a few short weeks. It's about 6 to 8 weeks before we look to start the Elite League season here. Given all that's going on, thankfully we're looking at a more positive future after the last year and a half that we've had. But what have you been doing to sort of keep yourself in the game? You're saying you're training. Are you back on the ice? Are you a lot of time in the gym, or how does that training look?
Yeah, well, it's definitely been difficult over the last year. Most of the year while I was in Edmonton, things were pretty bad with COVID, so everything was shut down. We weren't able to skate. We didn't have access to any of the gyms or anything, so I was just trying to do little home workouts with some 10-pound dumbbells that I have, and it's not easy, but you do what you can. Right now, I'm just getting in the gym as much as I can. And I've been able to get out on the ice a couple times. And I'm actually going back over to Vancouver this week to stay with my parents and get some ice in over there during the week. So I'm just trying to do it as much as I can to get prepared.
Fantastic. Like I say, it's only a few weeks before you come and join us. We look forward to it. Enjoy your time in Victoria with all those whales and the lovely Pacific Ocean in Vancouver. I remember it well, a beautiful part of the world. And we'll see you when you come over to another beautiful part of the world here in Belfast. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Thanks, Tyler.
Absolutely. I'm excited. Thank you very much.
Great to have Tyler Soy on with us here at the Belfast Giants. And, he was a 7th round draft pick with the Anaheim Ducks. He seems, Joel, to have quite a great attitude to the game.
Yeah, again, it's another experience. Another case of, like we were talking with Jeff Baum, you've got a young guy who seems to have a very experienced head on his shoulders, and being able to bring in that kind of duality as well, a bit of maturity to add to sort of the maturity of the longer tenured guys who have been around the team. I think I'm just impressed, to be honest, with the coaching. Sorry, my words have ran out. It's that time of day. Sorry. The entire sort of recruitment drive this season, if you kind of give it that kind of top-down view, I think it's an amazing sort of network. They've built a real squad with all of the right strengths in all of the right places, and he seems to very much be a part of that.
He seems to says, Joel brought up the fact he's got experience, WHL, he wore an A, and another player coming in from that youth sports direction.
Again, they just seem to be top quality from that university links that they have up in North America, as well as the NCAA. I mean, I'm just looking through his elite prospects. He played in the 2015 or under 18 World Championship team with the likes of Matthew Barzell, Thomas Chabot. There's guys there, Anthony Bavilla, Fred or Frankie's brother. So there's guys there who when you play at that level with those type of guys, he's certainly going to be another player you have to keep your eye on. So, hopefully he hasn't played hockey a lot over the last 18 months, which is probably, one thing that's going to, he's going to have to take maybe a little bit longer to get back and going again. But, the boys are being allowed to come in anytime from mid-August right up until the season starts. So it's hopefully we can get these guys in, get them going. And I'm just really looking forward to the season. It's been too long of sitting doing nothing. So
Amen to
really
that.
looking forward to it.
And some good insight to some of the names on the Cardiff Devils roster there. Go back, have a listen.
Nice.
Davy, your thoughts on Tyler Soy?
I like what I've been reading about Tyler Soy. Obviously his major junior career there with Victoria Royals. I think I read somewhere that he might be like the franchise leader, but took a couple of injuries towards the end of that, second or third season that he was with them. But an absolute sniper by all accounts, 150, 160 goals through 5 seasons, just says that he knows where the back of the net is. So major junior is a high level of hockey, yourself.
Yeah.
Not that you played on it, but you know what I mean.
I had a great career, major junior, mate.
So he knew absolute power play specialist for the Royals. I think you called the team he played for. So, he comes with a little bit of pedigree. That's where he's ended up getting picked up by, I think he said, the Anaheim Ducks during his interview. I don't know where he went in the draft, but to be drafted at all.
Round 7, he was 205th overall.
I was just reading. I've just seen the chat function. It's absolutely brilliant. 1 hour in. No, I'm not. Is the answer to that question. So he knows where the back of the net is. He certainly did through major junior. He got small chances at the AHL level. Injury jinxed him there. 3 chances in the coast as well. So look, he's coming in. What I really liked in his interview is how hungry he is to maybe step forward or maybe put down roots. But he's making the transition to Europe and he's hungry for what comes next. And that can only bode well for us.
Yeah, a big thanks to him for the interview. It was done at 9 o'clock in the morning his time, given that he is on the west coast of Canada in the beautiful place which is Victoria, British Columbia. But that is the Belfast Giants roster as it stands. We'll come back again to Murph and stuff in the next pods and hopefully have a few more names to talk about. So let's have a look at maybe one of the other pieces of news regards to the Elite League, and that probably is the Glasgow Clan. Davy, we did have over the last 6 months, Gav Chalmers come out and say with Intu no longer being the owners of the Braehead shopping centre and therefore the arena, it was up for sale. There was a doubt as to whether they'd have any ice to play on this season. There was a move to try to become the owner-operators of the arena. They have announced that they will be playing next season, but it's a little bit curtailed.
Yes, they're not going to play the Challenge Cup, which traditionally at the minute has been starting the season, so let teams probably get a little bit of game time before the real business of the league kicks off. They're not starting their season until November. So although the season's starting here a little bit later this season, towards more the end of September, they're going to miss the sort of first 5-6 weeks of it to facilitate whatever deal must have been done to allow them to do it. And it brings up a couple of problems, I guess. One, they're going to set out the Challenge Cup, which makes it how's the Challenge Cup format?
Well, we've done it ourselves, to be fair.
Yeah, possibly change it. Yeah, a lot of years ago we sat out of the Challenge Cup. I don't like it. I didn't like it when we did it, so I'm not gonna change my opinion on that. I think that you should be trying to win everything you can. It makes it, as we know, that the players aren't playing in the United Kingdom to fill their pension pot up, and it kind of means for a lot of players there that are coming into the Glasgow Clan being paid a weekly wage. It's 2 months less of a season they're not getting paid for, and they're still being expected to play the same amount of games, albeit exclude the Challenge Cup from that. So, it'll be interesting to see how they get on, how they recruit, we've seen their squad starting to come together. Good goaltending they seem to have. I think that goaltender played with their coach previously in North America. You said yourself there earlier that Matthew Waugh has signed. Obviously, a wily old veteran, knows the league. Probably won't be production in terms of what he was doing back in the Sheffield days, but he knows his way to the back of net. And Glasgow will have to recruit sensibly this season, because I think they may struggle bringing in those premium top end guys, because, as I say, especially after the pandemic we've had, people still need to pay mortgages and stuff. So it is a business, and these people are doing this as a job, much as it's a sport and a passion for us. It's a job to a lot of these guys, and they have to be paid accordingly.
Yeah, there's Shane Start coming in as the starting goalkeeper for the Glasgow Clan, coming in from Wheeling Nailers. Played for Scranton, Bakersfield. Had a bit of a time just bouncing about AHL, ECHL, but they've got Matthew Waugh, Matthew up the Mona bypass. Nolan Laporte. I'm going to stick with that actually through the season. That's going to be my name for him.
You need a sign clip.
Definitely, I'm going to have to do that. The only real names are like Matthew Waugh and Matt Haywood, Jordan McLaughlin coming in. They have signed a couple of guys in from Ontario. Some, their teams coming together, Joel. But it's an interesting prospect for the Clan, who want to sort of develop the team within an arena that they want to own.
Yeah, look no further than Craig Peacock's departure for
yes,
Fife, within the past week. And, it may seem to us like Peaks has been around forever because he was such a big part of that Doug Christensen era Giants, but Peaks is only 32. There's still an awful lot left there. And he's one of the more accomplished Brits in the past kind of decade or more. So, it's worrying times. And look, whether there's a significant portion of our fan base that likes to sort of stoke the fire and get riled up about the Clan, and I may or may not have been involved in that at one point in my life, but I like Gareth Chalmers. I like Jerry McLaughlin. I think there's good people at the helm of that club, and it's in the interests of the league that the teams, especially the ones in larger venues, the Clan are an arena team. I think in terms of a purpose-built facility for the EIHL, it's a great arena. It's a really good away day too. And in the interests of hockey in this part of the world and its longevity and its sustainability, it's really important that those teams are protected and continue to grow and thrive. If you lose a team like the Clan, I think it wedges the gulf a little bit bigger between the teams that are in the arenas and the teams that are playing out of the rinks. And it's a house of cards that can fall down very quickly. The IHL hockey in this part of the world, as we've seen, even within the past 20 years with the dissolving of the Super League and sort of the EIHL being hashed and rehashed, all that kind of stuff. So I just hope that they find a way to make it through this, and maybe for a year or two on ice success doesn't have to be the top priority. It's weathering the storm and coming out the other side with a team that can continue to thrive.
Says the point that Davy made about the condensing of the season for the Clan, that they are out of the Challenge Cup, and Challenge Cup's changing a little bit this season, but how do you sell that to a player to say that we're going to be going up against teams who we're going to be playing more games in a shorter span than their opponents are going to be? That must be a difficult. Well, I say it must be a difficult sell. They're certainly selling it because they've been bringing in players.
Guys just want to play hockey. They don't want to practice. They don't want to, they just want to play hockey. And at the end of the day, if they're playing hockey every third or fourth day that they're here, they just want to get back on the ice again. So I don't see that being an issue. It's, it might, depending on what their schedule is and their travel arrangements. And I know they don't, I'm pretty sure Glasgow don't fly most places. If they're going down to play Guildford, it's a 9 or 10 hour bus ride. If they're playing Guildford on a Saturday and they've got to travel back up to Glasgow on the Sunday, it's a long trip. So I have no idea what their schedule is or what their games are upcoming. So but the hockey players just want to play hockey, so I don't see that being a big issue. It just depends on how many players they're bringing in. You touched on a couple of them there. Laporte's back as well. He was a decent player. Remember him from a couple of years ago. And then, as I say, their goaltender looks like a big unit as well. So, look, it's Glasgow. We've always sort of we've got the better of them, but we always have tough games against them. It's a tough place to go into, as Joel said. But I'd rather have 10 teams in the league than 9. So it's good to have him back, and I don't wish him any luck, obviously.
Their goalkeeper's 6.5 feet tall.
Many centimeters is that, Davy?
He's thinking about it too.
230.
196. Dear. But what
2 meters? 2 meters is 6'6".
What height's Besco? Call off the top of your head, boys. 193. So he's 3 centimeters taller than Besco. Besco's a big
he's
guy.
He's not as good as Besco, but that's the big challenge.
That's 3 centimeters.
No, that's 3 centimeters.
We're going back a time here. That's about 3 centimeters. It's fun if you're listening, and if you're listening on the audio version, I think you can guess what we're doing.
Any other business?
Well, one thing I do before we get to any other business is to remind you, as if you needed to be reminded, that the fixtures for the Elite League season will be released this Thursday. With great anticipation is to see how the Belfast Giants will be lining up, how their fixture list will be lining up, how those away trips will be going, how those double headers will be going, how we'll be dealing with setting up at the SSE Arena come the end of September. Thursday morning, I believe, is when they will come out. You'll catch all the details of that on the Belfast Giants website, on Twitter, and on Instagram, on Facebook, on Bebo. Are they on Bebo? MySpace, all that sort of stuff.
Live journal.
Goodness me. Get your geosites set up. Any other business, gentlemen?
I've got one. The OSC, the OSC have now been allowed to facilitate the handing out of the sponsored equipment from the last played season. So Monday the 9th and Tuesday the 10th between 6 and 8 at the South VIP door at the SSE Arena Park. All the details are on the Giants Giants Twitter and Facebook, as well as the OSC Twitter and Facebook. But follow directions of the event sec staff. Park in the vaccination centre car park, which is the main car park for the arena. And please stay socially distanced. We will do our best to get the equipment on as quickly as possible. And once again, thanks for your continued support from the sponsored equipment side of things.
Which one's the South VIP? Is that the one at the front?
South VIP is just the road, just the traffic lights. So it's but again, take into consideration the vaccination centre will be open, and my understanding is it's very busy at that time. So don't approach it from the pavilion walkway side, because that's where they'll be queuing to get into the arena. So come in from the other end. But again, the event sec staff will point you in the right direction.
Anybody else?
Just a quick one. We haven't mentioned that it's been 10 years since Doug Christensen brought Adam Keefe to Belfast. As of this week, 4 days ago, was the 10-year anniversary of that. So, congratulations to Coach Keefe on 10 amazing years, whether he's digging Brian Jernick's head off on the ice or lifting trophies. He's Mr. Belfast of the modern era.
Or farming.
Or being a boat captain or whatever. The reason that the current generation, I would say a big part of the reason the current generation of diehards are Giants fans was watching Adam Keefe on the ice and then transition to coach. So congrats, coach, and here's to many more.
Here. And hopefully as a 10th anniversary gift, we can get him good Wi-Fi. Yes. Anything from yourself, David?
I have just a couple of things, Paddy. First of all, we never mentioned, for whatever reason, Belfast Giants podcast, I guess. We didn't mention Sheffield Steelers' own. Unfortunately, they've lost Liam Kirk. Obviously, they had him signed for the coming season, but he's taken an option for a 3-year NHL deal instead.
Why would you do that?
Don't know. When you're signed to the...
apparently he was signed, yes.
Signed to the Sheffield Steelers as verified by the EIHL. So good luck to them. It's good to see British talent getting a chance at the NHL level. Whether we are Sheffield fans or we're not. I wish that kid every success because it's good to see him flying the flag over there for us and wish him well. The other thing is the shirt raffle or shirt thing that we're running for Ethan's new wheelchair. We have paid £300 over for that. So thank everybody that bought a ticket. I will do a draw. I've got the balls all set up, and me and Sis talked about it earlier, and I forgot to bring them down so I'm not going to get them now. But we will maybe do that on the next live show. I'll bring them. We'll dip in and grab some balls.
Well, what are you going to do, Davy?
This show is getting absolute filth. You're going to grab some balls.
Big orange balls, mate.
That's all we've got. That's all we've got left to talk about.
That's the color. That's the color of the balls. Honestly,
that's what they are.
Table tennis balls.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah.
Numbers on them.
Absolutely. I had a big orange golf ball on the Strand course the other day. It was the only one I lost.
What about the first? You didn't mention about the first fairway at Port Stewart. Did you land on the fairway?
I landed it, mate.
Yes, Paddy.
First time in 5 years. Didn't go on the roof of Harry Shack this time. Yes,
pure clutch, mate.
I didn't have a bad round for a change in the Strand course. Lost one ball. Had 4 pars. One of them the par 5. Happy enough with that. But I digress.
No fairway beats Paddy Smith 6 times in a row.
That's the truth, mate. That's the truth. Good time for Stuart and Donegal and all that. But anyway, I digress. I think that's it from us, gents, is it?
That's something else. I can't remember.
No, that's it. You done something else then. Go on, Davy.
No, but I can't remember.
Well,
so that's the rubbish ending, but sorry.
Great finish.
Something to do with the Olympics, maybe.
Something to do with the Olympics? Yeah. Olympics. See your guy from Newton Arts, he was quite good. I quite liked the gymnastics. Right. Quite liked his cut of his jib. Yeah. His confidence.
The fella fell off a horse and didn't win.
Yeah.
Here, did you see the cycling or they're on the velodrome? The Australian guy, the handlebars fell off his bike.
Off bike.
No, they
got another chance. Put him back on and allowed him to go again, but
what
they did. They built his bike back together and let them race again, but they finished 5th.
And I'm going to disagree. I think it was with Mr. Joe Neal. I quite liked what happened in the high jump. I quite liked it. I thought it was quite good. Bit of sportsmanship.
But my question was, will that mean there's no silver medal? It's just 2 golds and a bronze?
I think so, yeah.
Because you can't be having that. I'm not with you.
No.
I think it's wrong. You've got the whole point of when you've got to win. You go to the Olympics to win. You don't go to the Olympics to come second.
My point was, the guys in golf, there were 7 guys tied for 3rd. So rather than give them all a bronze, they made them play off 4 days of competition. I jumped 3 times. You jog in, jump over a bar.
Should have given them all bronze.
I've maybe made that. I've maybe oversimplified that, but you'd be pretty tall as well.
Jog in and jump over a bar.
Genetics, the genetic advantage as well.
Remember jumping over heads? I remember jumping over heads in the Isle of Wight one night for a bit of crack.
You did what?
I medal for it? Or?
Jogging in and jumping over a bar is Joel Neal at 1 o'clock in the morning in the Heart Bar.
See you soon, babes. I miss you.
Heart Bar's still closing about 8:30, 9 o'clock, for goodness sake.
Yeah, it's not right, mate.
We'll be back, Joe. We'll be back.
And on that fabulous note, a big thanks to and a welcome back to David Goodwin, and a welcome and a very great thank you to Tyler Soy for their time and joining us. If you want to get us, kingdomofthegiants.com, at AVFTB on Twitter, podcast at kingdomofthegiants.com is our email. And a big thank you to you 3 gentlemen. It's good to see you again.
Thanks, boys.
Thanks, Patrick.
Cheers, thanks once again. Big thanks to Belfast Giants for allowing us to put together this video and the new system and all that sort of palaver. We'll be back again, no doubt, in a couple of weeks to talk about Stephen Murphy and to talk about maybe a few new signings and a lot more besides. And wherever you are, we hope you enjoying your summer. Hockey isn't that far away, and we'll catch you here next time on A View from the Bridge. Stop.